Hello.
Hello. Welcome, everybody, to our regular live stream on Tuesdays at 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 o'clock Pacific, and 6 o'clock in the UK to Recovery Live. Came to Believe Recovery's live stream about everything recovery and addiction, mostly about recovery, right? Welcome, my co-host,
Co-host.
Alicia. I don't know that we're stars, Alicia.
Co-host, I am.
Well, we're
Hello.
stars in our own head.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Right? It's not a problem. It's everyone else's problem.
That's right, because they're not like us.
So right off the bat, we're going down a very bad road. Well, you guys should hear us on the phone when we talk. It's
No,
like
they shouldn't.
They shouldn't. But we do talk about. So let's talk about some of the upcoming things that's going on. First of all, it's September. And I don't know. I always hate when the fall comes, but I'm so sick of this heat. It's going to be 95, I think, in New York the next 3 days. And I'm going to be in the city where I am now, coming to you from Rockefeller Center as I was last week. But I'm kind of ready to get my down vest out and my fleece. I don't know about you, Alicia.
Oh, totally am. And it's been cooler out here. It even rained this weekend, Labor Day weekend. It was rainy and cold, and I love it. Love cold.
What's rainy and cold? What's cold?
Oh, well, 64. Compared to summer, it's cold. It's September. I'm like, what's up?
It's National Recovery Month. That's right. Lisa put up it's National Recovery Month in September, and we have a lot going on in for Came to Believe Recovery in September. Dale Barker's joined us. #recovery. Hey, Dale. But September is back to school. Lisa's kids went to school today. We're going to bring Lisa on in a little while. She was very sad last week. Not so sad today, but maybe she can tell us about it when she comes on. And
I'm going to Recovery Happens tomorrow with Dale Marsh in Sacramento at State something. That's how ignorant I am. Right. Where I'm going tomorrow.
That's the next event. It's called Recovery Happens, right? And it's where all sorts of recovery organizations come together. It's like a trade show, kind of a festival kind of place, right, Alicia?
Yeah, but like thousands of people come and they have speakers, and we got a booth or a table there. So we'll be telling them about the retreat and what we do. And so it'll be good. One of my friends from recovery is going to come up with me, and she's actually going to be a leader for the first time at our next retreat in a week and a half in Nevada City. So it's good. Yes.
So that's our next event in the next 2 days, guys, is if you're in the Sacramento area, you could come and see our table, see Alicia and Dale Marsh and Daryl and Rick Zukalis are all going to be there in Sacramento tomorrow and Thursday, I think, right? It's both days.
One's Sacramento, the next one's in somewhere else.
Right, but you're going to be, are you at both of them?
No, I'm doing
You're
tomorrow.
just at tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's one thing going on, and I'm sure that it coincides with, that's in Oroville, it coincides with Recovery Month, September being Recovery Month. In 2 weeks, then we're going to be in Nevada City. Our kind of flagship retreat in California these days, Nevada City, is September 15th through 17th. If you're in the California area and you want to go, there are still opens. I think we have 50, Cass was saying today, signed up. And so we have room for 20 more, 25 more, really. We'll see what happens at Recovery Happens and some other things. You know, our gang tends to register for things late. So we'll see. Then after that, we are going to have a table at the San Gennaro Festival here in New York City. We got access, permission to set up a table at 32 Prince Street, which is part of Old St. Patrick's Cathedral's properties, right near Mulberry Street, right in the thick of everything that goes on with the San Gennaro Festival, which draws over 1 million people over the 10 days in New York City. So we're going to be out there with a table create an awareness of who we are, what we do, and that recovery is possible. Lisa will be at that on the 23rd of September. And we're going to be there, I think, on the 19th as well. So we got Recovery Happens going on tomorrow and another event then in Chico or Oroville the next day. Then we have our retreat the 15th through the 17th. And then we're going to be at the San Gennaro Festival at the end of the month. So busy month for us, which we ought to be during Recovery Month, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then we're going to be in Schooley's Mountain, 6, 7, 8 October, which is in New Jersey. One of the old-time, really legacy retreats for Came to Believe. Then we have the Bay Area Commuter Retreat in the Cupertino area. It's outside San Jose, October 20th to 22nd, November 3rd through the 5th, down in our like organizational flagship retreat in Leesburg. And then out in sunny Malibu, December 8th through 10th, that's an inaugural retreat in the LA, Southern California area.
Not sure if it'll be sunny in December, but still beautiful.
Right. Still beautiful. So we're really rolling here in the fall, and then we'll have a break until the virtual retreat, which has always been popular lately. At least when we do it once a year, it's pretty popular. So that's what we have happening. Today, we're going to be talking. We have Donna Goldstein, who's going to join us in a moment, and Elisa's going to join us. And we're going to be talking about just gratitude, Alicia, and faithfulness as it relates to our recovery and life. And how do we feel about that in general, and how have our attitudes changed really towards it? I don't know if I had gratitude prior to being recovered, and certainly not a faith, or at least not the faithfulness I have now before I recovered.
Sure. Yeah, I didn't either.
The small things that we're grateful for now are not the way it used to be. So Donna had just had a hip replacement. So
She'll be grateful that it's over with.
Right. She'll be grateful that it's just over with.
It's been 2 weeks, so she's probably grateful that she's getting better every day. Well, let's find out what she thinks.
Let's find out. Let's bring Donna from Morristown, New Jersey. Really, Morris Township, but it's Morristown.
Hi,
Donna.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
How are you? How you doing?
We're grateful.
How are you?
Grateful. Very grateful today.
Right.
I'm good. I'm doing good. I'm grateful for modern medicine and technology today.
So, guys, I saw Donna
surgery
like 10 days after hip surgery, and she walked into a meeting with a cane. Just amazing what modern science is. Not 10 days before, she had a whole hip replaced, and she's walking with that. It's really, I'm always amazed at what the science has done.
Amazing.
Today.
It's amazing what modern medicine can do, but I'm also amazed by the intelligence of just the human body and how our bodies learn to integrate these new devices and prosthetics that are put into our bodies, and how they accept them and integrate the bone integration and the tissue integration with the foreign things. And then in addition to my body having to integrate this foreign thing in its body, it's also healing at the same time. So it's just amazing to me that wonderful design, this divine design plan, how it works. It's just amazing. So all good.
So how do we want to start this discussion about gratitude and faithfulness as it relates to us today? It's a big subject, right? Sometimes when we're in AA meetings, we'll hear people say, right, grateful recovering or grateful recovered alcoholic.
Why don't we start with the obvious?
All right.
Uh-oh.
Oh, you're bouncing out.
Mm-hmm.
Let's because we're going to talk kind of the gratitude when it comes to.
I'm sorry, you skipped out for a second there. It's kind of spotty.
Right. Well, you said we should start with the obvious.
Yes.
being grateful for being
And I think that
recovered.
would be the miracle of the miracle of recovery, the gift of recovery.
Right.
You know, so gratitude about that, and how grateful we are to be where we are today and not living the way we were back then. You know, that that we're not who we used to. That we're not who we used to be, right? And
Right.
when we look at ourselves, or
Right.
when I go to meetings and I see people really, still sick and suffering, and I look at them and I think about that was me, and look where we are today. That's a miracle, and I'm so grateful for that, because for me, the gift of sobriety, it was a gift. It was something I needed to embrace and receive rather than try and conquer. It's the beautiful paradox of recovery, is that it's victory over surrender. We get victory through surrender. So that's a different topic, though.
I always benefit from people and hearing things like that, because I hear that in the circles when I lead at retreats and otherwise, because I am the type that, yes, I'm grateful for what God did for me. He took the eating disorders away and alcoholism away and over-exercise away.
Mm-hmm.
But I always take that credit back. Like, look at me.
Mm-hmm.
I did it. Discipline. Whoa! And I need to
Right.
hear it. And I need it banging over my head. And my step 10 every night almost is this topic. Because
Right.
I'm taking the credit and not giving him the glory. And it's just a vicious cycle that I've just noticed I did it again. Like, yeah, I need to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing it. I'm constantly being grateful for how strong
It
I
also
am.
goes back to like when we used to go to meetings. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, it's just like when you used to go to meetings and you'd hear people say a grateful alcoholic. I was always like, what? Like, why would you be grateful for being in this situation? Like, I get that today, because we are grateful. Like,
We're losing her.
we have not, like you said, we can't take credit for that. We have to remember who and what got us where we are today. Because for it, then I also then I don't value it as much, because I feel like if I could do it once, I could do it again. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have to understand that this is a gift, and I need to be grateful for it.
I think too, it takes us, I mean, I certainly agree with all that, the gratefulness that we have this awareness of where we could be, right? If it wasn't for this process that we went through and somebody gave it to us, you want to be thankful for it. We know where we can be. And we've lost a selfishness and a self-centeredness that didn't work for us. And it's allowed us to turn our sights outwards onto other things and not look inwards so much. And that's a grateful heart that has been through, I mean, for us anyway, we got it through struggle, right? And through loss and through harm and through a bottom that we had to have. You don't have to go through that to be grateful in your life or in your world for things that you have. But it certainly worked for us. And it makes me not sweat the small stuff is also a new thing that I've got a new appreciation for, although I can still have my moments. I try not as best I can. At least I try to catch it as quick as I can. Do a 10 step again on patience and be grateful that I woke up today and that I was able to do what I was able to do. But I never was that way before. I was entitled. We were self-powered, it was all about what we could do. It was, do unto others and split. It was, I got to get mine, and today it is absolutely not that way. And there's a peace about it when you're coming from a grateful heart. And it's because of faith. And the faith came because we were actually touched by a God. And through this faith, we've actually gained even greater access to more than just gratitude. We've had a set of promises come true in our life that has restored us to a freedom that's allowed us to sit in a place where we're not fearful and resentful and dishonest as well.
Where do you fall, Tom, on the spectrum of Donna and I? Like, God did it, and I'm like, I did it. How do you like not do that? How do you?
Well, I have
Does that make
totally,
sense?
I'm on your world, Alicia, where it is
And you
we
just
got to
say
do action. Like I'm not
we have to
all
do something.
right up in the realm. I mean, God put us here on this earth to be people. And we have talents and skills and abilities, and we have to go out and do stuff that we're directed. But I do take that action through direction from God. I mean, the miracle of the obsession being was him. He pulled the character defects. But then, I had to do some working on the habits and things and putting this stuff into play. And it took, even the big book says the correct use of the willpower is when we're doing it in line with how God is leading us. So we do use our willpower and our skills and our abilities and our intelligence. And I really believe that we need to do that.
In line with him.
In line with him.
Like
right.
his will, not mine.
Right. I mean, we can still be stronger than everybody, Alicia.
Well, I am. That's the problem.
There's
I
facts.
laugh, but it's
You
not
know,
funny. I mean, I'm laughing, but nobody else laughs.
That's
a problem. I mean, I'm being honest. I mean, maybe I'm the only one out there, but I doubt it.
But I don't know that you're not. I don't know that you're not grateful. I think there's some ego and pride and judgment. There's other things that are coming in on the other side of that. I mean, I think you're grateful for being able to be sober enough and in a situation where you can use your will power and your skills and your abilities to do the things you do.
Totally. My husband, Timothy, says, well, who do you think gave you the discipline and the grit and the strong and the muscles? God did. Like, oh, that's right. But I need to use them in the right way and for other people's benefit, not just mine.
So one of my newest things, and it's like a daily thing, is random act of kindness. I leave every day. I do my love, my 4 absolutes every morning help me be loving, honest, unselfish, and pure in my motive. But now I say, God, show me a way to do a random act of kindness. I don't for sure would not have cared about doing anything like that if I didn't know, if I hadn't been shown maybe more than a random act of kindness, from a God who saved me and from a life now free from those things. And I've also learned through this gratitude that life is better when you turn out than it is when you turn in. And so these are all benefits of a gratitude, is to be able to go home and then go home at night and say, what was my random act of kindness? Sometimes I'm not even 3 steps out the door. And sometimes it's towards the end of the day. And sometimes it's just Patrick behind me because he needs lots of random acts of kindness. It's always, well, I mean,
I think that the concept of gratitude for me was such a gradual process, because like today, when I look at myself or anything for that matter, I always remind myself that anything I have and any abilities I have and any blessings I have are all kind of on loan from him for the period of time that I'm here to do his work. Like I'm not like, anything I have is not mine to keep. It goes through me, right? To be used for the greater good of whatever it is I'm working on. But that's not, I mean, in early sobriety, I would not be able to conceptualize that, because I really believed, I think I was the center of the universe, right? So that's why I really give, like, going back to early sobriety, like the idea of doing those gratitude lists, which seems so ridiculous. And even now when you think about them, you're like, ugh, but that is where it starts. That's where that's where we start training our brains to start thinking outside of us, right? Those dumb little, they're not even dumb, but I just remember doing gratitude lists. It was my sponsor's response to a lot of my complaints was for me to do a gratitude list. And that was sort of like just planting the seeds. And so over time of doing those lists and thinking like that over a period of time, now I try to see everything without having to make that list. I look at everything I have through as if it's on loan to me. Like it's not mine. It's mine through him and through the grace of God or whatever that might be. So I can't really take credit for a lot of stuff, and that keeps my ego in check too, right? I don't start taking credit because like I said, if I start taking credit, then I'm going to be off to the races. Then my ego is going to come into play and, all that stuff. But, I was having a conversation the other day with a sister of mine who has been going through some really, really difficult times with all different types of things going on in her family. And I was on the phone with her and I was talking to her about something that I was struggling with. And every time I complained about something, she had like the glass half full response to it. And she's like, well, at least this, and well, at least you have this, and well, at least you're not still in the hospital. Well, and I was like, I got the phone with her. I was like, well, that was frustrating because everything I said, she made me try. She kept redirecting me back to what I should be focusing on, the grateful, what the glass half full versus half empty. And I realized that the reason why she was doing this so automatically in her mind, her response, is because she's just been through some serious stuff. And I do think that there's when you talk to people that can find gratitude in the storm or in disaster or in chaos, those are people who have been through some serious stuff. They have really felt the wind and the rain and the storms of life, and they are able to, and that is probably the one thing that holds them together in those storms, is that they just keep looking at, well, at least I have this. At least I have that. And that's, I think that's really important for us to look at anything in life like that, and it was a really good lesson for me, because I think I was looking for somebody to kind of like pour me. And instead she kept refocusing on, what was good. And it occurred to me it was probably because she had been through so much. And that was the one thing that was keeping her afloat, was to just keep focusing on gratitude and her faith,
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tom.
Now I was just going to bring Lisa on because we're all coming from from this attitude. Our gratitude is rooted in when we were addicts, disaster. And Lisa, there she is. Lisa is not an addict. She's a normie, as we would call them.
But there's no such thing, but okay.
Right. You can
We're
say
all
that.
addicted to something. Approval, something.
But I'm sure that we're going to hear Lisa talk from a little bit different perspective about gratitude and how it works in her life. But for us, it was life and death kind of thing, and we had to keep pride, ego, and all in check, and we have to keep looking outward, and we have to do this, or we could have it. But that's not how everyone else primary motivation about it, right, Lisa?
Yeah. You guys who have heard me on here know that I'm a podcast junkie. I love listening to podcasts. And one of the things I heard, I don't know which one last week, was that our brains are automatically wired to hold on to negativity and focus on that. It's automatically wired. If you get 10 compliments and one thing that was said negative, you're going to focus on the one instead of the 100. So I kind of grew up in a very negative environment, and my mom, all she does is complain, and I don't want to become that. So it's something I've tried with my kids to instill, what's something that you're thankful for? What's something that you're happy that you have? And rather than just my toy, well, how about your family? How about your friends? How about that, So I try to integrate that just early on with my kids, because I think it is a mindset to focus on the good when it's so easy to go towards the negative. I mean, Tom knows me. I had a really rough couple years there starting in 2020 and went for probably 2 years where like everything just went wrong. And I always tried to find something positive and just something to be grateful for, like, because I could have easily just said the world's against me and I give up, and
Right.
And we find what we look for, right? I say that a lot and try to remind myself about that a lot. And if we are complainers and always complaining, you're going to find something. We can find something negative about every single thing, even the perfect thing. It sucks because it's not enough of the thing.
Right. Like,
so we need to
there's
start
not a
getting
cloud in
that
the
practice.
sky. It's beautiful out, but I wish there was a cloud in the sky to block the sun.
It's so
for a couple
hot.
of minutes. Right.
Or tomorrow's going to suck because it's too good. Or, we can always do that. So it's a good practice too, even though, I agree with you, Donna, like a gratitude list, but I put a journal on my dinner table and I started instituting that again every night. And I sometimes forget, put 3 things in there that I'm grateful for. And just doing it a few nights, I'm like, wow, it makes a difference. And so,
I think it's like such the nature. It's such the nature of the addict or alcoholic to always be in a state of wanting, always coming from addicts and alcoholics. I feel, for me, I noticed it with myself and I noticed it with other people around me who are still sick and suffering. They're always coming from a place of lack. They're always coming from a place of not enough. There's a couple of things I noticed that, like, there's a couple of like earmarks. Like, always worried about themselves, very, very consumed with themselves, their own comfort, their own plans, what they're getting, what they're not getting. I see it within my own family sometimes. And to me, that's always a little red flag. When one of my children is always focusing on themselves, what they don't have, what they're not getting enough of, I'm like, uh-oh, there's the red flag. Because we typically come from a place of lack, not from a place of abundance. So if we're always coming from a place of lacking, we never have enough. And that is the essence of why we continue to do what we did, because one is never enough. And we just keep getting more and more because we want more of whatever it is. It doesn't even matter what it is. But if somebody else is getting it or somebody else has it, or even if we think it, we have to have more of it. So gratitude flips that whole story on its head and says, we are coming from a place of abundance. And when you're always, whether you have nothing, talk to an unhoused person and see what they could be grateful that they just, that it's not raining that day so that they don't have to be, they don't have a shelter. If you flip it on its head and you're always coming from a place of abundance, how are you going to be wanting? You're always going to be, let's face it, gratitude is the answer to I think, personal happiness and peace. And so that's why I think whoever came up with this plan of doing these gratitude lists knew the mental state of the addict and alcoholic is that we are always lacking. We're always feeling that we're lacking.
It forces the focus on the one into an override. It overrides it, that list. Yes. It's like Lisa's saying, businesses, industries will tell you it takes 10 good experiences to overcome one bad experience. Yeah. And we all focus on the worst thing. One thing happens once, and we're never going to do that again ever, even though the rest of the world, the times you've ever used whatever it is, has been fine. You try to do it. I will get the poor me's really quick if I'm not careful. That's where it is when things are going wrong. And Lisa could have had the poor me's for 2 years.
And I did. There's a difference, I think, in having the poor me's and wanting to vent. I think it's, your feelings are valid at that moment. If you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling frustrated, they're valid and you're allowed to feel them and have them and experience that. So I hesitate with the poor me's. It's when you let that mindset keep you stuck, and you can't see past it. But everyone has experiences where they feel not grateful. It's human nature. So I think, validating how someone's feeling at that moment and then giving them encouragement to find the silver lining later on is, important. I because had someone dismissed me and said, oh, well, just like at least you had a baby and at least you had this, or at least, I'd be like, yeah, but that doesn't, like, this still happened and it was still terrible. And like, don't discount that. Like, I experienced that. Like, even if it's just the acknowledgement, yeah, that must have been really hard for you.
Right, but you move on.
But then you move on. Like, it never stopped me, but like, just acknowledge it. Like, it,
right.
Like, I don't know. I think the thing that saved me from it all is I was in it, and then my kid had a emergency. We're in the hospital room in the ER, and the doctor comes in. She's like, I read your whole chart, and you're not what I was expecting. Like, you're a superhero. How are you here? And it kind of validated the last 6 months for me that, like, okay, this was hard. Like, and I had a right to feel the way that I was feeling. And that kind of allowed me to move on,
And I mean, that's a good point too, Lisa, is that sometimes we don't want to it's called complaining, but venting in a real situation. Sometimes stuff does happen. Yeah. Like, it's like, I have to talk it out and let it go. And I still have to find some gratitude about something that's going to mitigate it, or what I have that keeps that from being the focus and pulling me down and taking me away. But when someone says, you're right, oh, just get over it. Oh, at least they've completely invalidated the fact that there's real bad stuff that does happen to us.
Right. Or you shouldn't feel that way. I'm like, well, I do.
Right.
Yeah,
I already do. So what do I do with that? Because I do. Whether it's wrong, whatever, I do feel this way. So now what? Right. And I think too that our feelings show us, like, well, what am I feeling? And not to ruminate in it, but why? Is there something I can do? Is it showing me something? Am I learning something? What can I do in this? And what were you going to say, Donna?
Well, it's like this. I used to say this to my kids sometimes when they would have like a setback. Validate that this happened. Okay, it did happen. So, for example, let's say you're running a race. Okay, and at some point in the race, you fall down and you skin your knee. Okay, so you acknowledge that you're hurt. You take care of the wound, right? You acknowledge that you fell. People come over, give you a high five. All right, you're doing okay. You wound your knee up. You bandage up your knee, and then you get back in the race and you keep running. But you don't keep going back and going, come here, I want to show you something. Look, this is where I fell. I fell over here. Do you remember I fell? Like, it happened and you go on. You acknowledge that it happened, and then you don't keep going back and revisiting where it happened, how it happened, what happened. Unless, obviously if there's trauma, then you need some kind of work with that. But I think that, and there's another component to gratitude too. Somebody taught me very early on in sobriety that when I used to come across certain people in my life that I had every right in the world to be justifiably angry or annoyed or impatient with, my sponsor would say, well, now you have to add them to the gratitude list, because you can thank God that this person was put in your life today to show you and teach you, like having gratitude. And this was just a sermon in church the other day, blessing and praising God, even when things are really not very good at all. Because in the end, it's all a blessing. We are always learning from things like that. So we thank God for the things that at first, we feel the pain. We acknowledge that we've been hurt. We acknowledge that we're going to heal from this wound. But there's also the element of, what did I glean from this? What did I learn from this? What has the universe, or what has God tried to teach me here? And taking that away as a reward, if you will, or gratitude for the fact that maybe he gave you a very annoying work partner so that you could work on your patience and tolerance. Thank him every day for that person. Thank you for putting that person in my life, Lord. Thank you for this. Thank you for that. It's gratitude for being grateful for the not so good stuff too. How are you going to be unhappy if you're even grateful for the bad thing or what you think is bad? It's all about qualifying things. We don't have to qualify things as good or bad. They just are. They just are.
So, Donna, let me give you a scenario. This is how my brain works. Get ready. What if you fell during the race and you
Okay.
get up
Brain
and you
works.
finish it, and then you meet somebody that fell not as bad as you did, and they decide not to get up because it hurt or whatever, and they don't. How do you not? You're thankful and you want to help that person. You could get up, finish it. And I need to accept that maybe they don't want to get up. Maybe they don't have as many experiences of getting up, or they fell off the wagon.
Right.
Well, there's no wagon. And I get angry because I want them to be where I'm at. I think I just answered my own question. I got to meet them where they are and leave them there.
Yes,
but I don't want to leave them there because I see what they're doing to themselves.
Right. But I think we do have to meet people where we're at. And especially if it's a place where we've been there before, you know, we can use that as a resource. I know what you're going through. I know what that feels like. I was there once too. I know how that feels. I want you to know that you don't have to feel that way.
And you could get up and finish the race.
And you can get up,
next
right.
time
You could.
You can finish the race.
Right.
So, yeah, I like that race thing. That's good because the thing is when you get up, and for us who are recovered addicts, when we see someone who says I can't quit, that's the type where we say, well, we did, you can. Yeah. And to come at it differently, come at it by saying, well, I used to be it's more effective when we say, well, we used to be just like you. I get it. I was there. I know how it is. And try to stay away from saying, you're a loser. Why don't you just get up and carry your mat and walk? But say, wait for them to ask you, what'd you do? Right. You know, you present that empathetic place in it. But Lisa, I know you got to go in a couple minutes. Do you have any? We're going to jump into faith here in a minute. So that would be a good one for you, right, Lisa? Right, it's faith and the whole thing. But any last parting words on gratitude and things? How's it changed now, the 2 years? Now you're because you're different than you were. You're not nearly in that kind of daily crisis mode ish, because you were.
Yeah, it was literally like daily crisis mode all the time. I mean, I still have stuff, but it's the grateful part. Like, I'm grateful for where we are all at today, because 2-3 years ago, I didn't know where we would be at in 2023. But we're all here and we're all still doing okay and we're growing. So I'm grateful for that, and that, you know, we've made it to where we are. I'm proud of us. I'm grateful for being able to get where we are. And I've had to make a change in myself to find things to be grateful for. And I had to make a conscious effort to find that. It didn't just come naturally. Like, I could have easily spiraled, but
That's a great point, Lisa, when you said you had to do it yourself. You can't, like, well, my husband needs to change and my daughters need to change and we need to move houses and I need this, and because it's not circumstances. It's something you had to do, part of that.
Yeah. I mean, it was really hard at first. It was a huge change for me because, again, like, the only thing I ever knew was being ungrateful and complaining. You know, so it was a conscious effort. But now it's a little bit easier. And I mean, Tom, I think you probably have seen, like, even in just the last year, I mean, there's a certain level of calmness that has re-entered my life, and just, I think it goes to the faith or trusting that things will go the way they're supposed to.
Well, there's the key is, I think we have to recognize and look back. And if we're growing, we say, I got through that, I can get through this.
Right.
And I have always got to remember back to say, remember when I thought the world was ending on such and such a thing, and I got through it. So let's put that same attitude towards this thing, and maybe not spiral as long as I did the last time, and get through this thing. And or we realize this isn't something to try to get through. This is something to get past. Right. So things are just you don't have to have in your life. You don't have to have around. And we begin to learn that stuff, and then we become grateful and we come to use all these lessons. So all this growth attitude, though, right? And it comes from this desire, I think, to be better. And then it becomes from faith. I think a faith of behind the scenes that there is a better days coming because of the past days, and that you use that faith to suck you through. Yeah. At least I know you got to go, right?
Got to go get my kid from her first day of preschool at her new school.
Oh, yay! Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
Did you cry? Did you cry this morning?
I didn't. I cried last week when I got the school lunch menu. I was like, she can buy school lunch. That was my trigger. But leaving her at the door, I was like, have a good day.
Oh, that's awesome. Good for her. Good for her and good for you.
Yeah.
So good. There's light at the end of the tunnel there. Yeah.
That's right. So, well, thank you. It was great talking to you guys today.
Good to see you, Lisa. Bye-bye.
Bye. So, right, that's interesting. So, I think going in for me, I see some of our comments and I get it, and I don't want to be flippant about it, but sometimes, the comments are like, I'm just grateful for being my love of Jesus Christ. I'm grateful because I love Jesus. I'm grateful for Jesus, what he did for me.
What does that mean?
Grateful believer in Jesus, Kevin says. Grateful to believe. I don't know if I don't know that it's just for me, guys. I'm not saying anything. I don't know that I'm grateful that I believe in him. I'm thankful that I was introduced to a relationship that now works for me, and now I'm grateful for things that I wouldn't have been before through the power. And is that the same thing? Maybe it is, but I use my faith today now to keep me from being ungrateful and to walk this gratitude into positive things. So it's more than just sit around saying, I'm just so grateful that I have this. Well, what can I do with this now? Not just that I'm grateful with it, but how can I now bless others? I'm grateful that I woke up today with a clean mind and attitude. I'm going to go do a random act of kindness because of this, because I feel like I want to spread that good news to other people. So I think that's how the faith fuels this gratitude and lets it come out in that way, where you're actually engaging with other people. I don't know if either any of you do that, or how your faith relates to gratitude.
I feel like it goes back to the old AA slogan that in order to keep it, you have to give it away. So if you're grateful for what you have, share it, give it away. So that was always like an underlying theme of recovery for me, drilled into me probably by my first sponsor, was that just, you've got this. This was given to you freely, so freely give it away. I can't keep it if I keep it. I can't keep it if I keep it to myself. And every time, it's an unusual thing because when we give out that type of help to others, right? When we share our recovery or we share our faith, it doesn't create less in us. It's not like, well, I'm going to give you this, which means I'm now lacking. My bucket's going to be empty. It actually brings it back 7 times more. That's what it says in the Bible. Like everything time we give away some part of ourselves, it multiplies it more in ourselves. Same with like any type of random acts of kindness. Like how you feel. So my faith tells me that my Lord and Savior is the same today as he was thousands of years ago. And he's going to be the same in a few more 1,000 years. He never changes. He's always the same. So my faith says to me, well, if he did what he did thousands of years ago, he's still doing it now, and he's going to be doing it in the future. That's what my faith says to me. So that makes my heart so full of joy. That's one of the truths of my faith that I embrace the most. There's a lot of truths to my faith, but that's probably one of my most favorite, is that he is the same today as he was and he always will be. So that my faith tells me it's not going to change. I can keep giving away what I have, and his promises tell me that I'm going to keep getting more of it. The more I give, the more I'm going to get. You know?
And Kevin clarified it with what, and I totally agree with that. It's what God or Jesus has done for him is what he's grateful for, which is I am also as well, that he has a spirit empowering me. But faith, some, and I'm not this way too, is that my job in life, my faith isn't to make any other people have my faith. And some people, that's what they grab onto when they get a relationship with God, is their whole purpose is to have you believe in their faith. And I'm more about just showing the love and letting this same God show himself to other people through the love you got. And I don't have the responsibility of having them take on what I do. And there's a freedom to that for me. I don't feel any responsibility. Even in the addiction recovery, we share our what we're grateful for and how it worked for us. But I don't take the responsibility for someone else grabbing it or not, and onward. I don't know if that I have a faith. If you do what we did, you'll get what I got.
Yeah, we don't. It's a program of attraction,
right?
We don't shove it down anyone's throat, but if you're living a life of gratitude and joy, it's kind of irresistible. I think people usually will say, "What are you doing?
Right?
What's going on?"
Right.
I just feel like, yeah. Like Jesus did. He met people where they were at. Right?
He did, and solved problems and gave lessons. And
he did, but he also
didn't even tell him who he was.
No. And very often he would ask them, before he healed them, he would ask them, "Do you want to be healed?"
Right.
He didn't just go and just do it randomly. He'd say, do you want to be healed? In most cases that I'm thinking of. I could be wrong. I'm not a theologist, but as far as I know, he usually as far as I know, he usually would ask first, do you want this? Because I think that, once he healed you, it was a situation where you couldn't help but then follow him after that. So it wasn't just a matter of being healed. It's like, where do you want to go from here? Because once I do this, you're mine.
Right.
So.
And then that's the dilemma of when there's people in our meetings or in the retreats or around us that say, I want it. And they're saying in step one, yes, and anything. But I'm not going to do that. And no, I'm not going to be humble of there. And I'm not. And then it's like, what do we do? And then people will say they might need to fall again, or they might. And that's really hard for me to just like, okay, just let them fall. And I'm just want to like, just do this and this and this. But we can't. They have to do it. They have to choose it. They have to do their step 10, or they have to take step 1. There's a guy in my mind that I'm thinking of that he just needs to take step 1, and he can't get more than 2 days sober. And I'm just like, I can't do anything. All right. I mean, I don't know.
But I think I feel like that's also when we get to that point, Alicea, where we realize that we can't make them do anything. That's also a step in faith, because that's the point where we realize that we're not God. We can't make this person change. We can't. And that's a step in faith. And sometimes a lot of times my biggest steps in faith are doing nothing than doing something,
Right.
It's my faith. A lot of times I have to have, I had to rely on my faith to prevent me from doing things that I think that I have the power to do, but I really don't. And so that's why, like, when those things happen, when we see people that are not ready yet, we want so badly to help them. And I always think about how our Heavenly Father must watch us, right? I always think like he must watch us, his crazy kids, right? Running around down here, chasing our tails, trying to dig in wells, trying to get what we want. And he's probably like, oh, like they're just, like you ever, like if you have children, what that's like, you watch your child try and do something and you don't want to jump in and do it for them because it's something they have to learn how to do themselves. And it's so frustrating because you got to watch them do it over and over and over again and falling off that bike or making the same mistake on their homework over and over until they learn it, right? And the hardest part is, as a parent, is just sitting there and watching that and let that happen. So I always think about my Heavenly Father must watch some of us down here doing that. And he's like, oh, when is she going to get it? And it's in his time. And it's such, it's so frustrating because that's another attribute of us addicts and alcoholics is control. So it's just like, I know how to do this. Just listen to me and I'm going to show you how to do this, but we can't. Mm-hmm. And that to me, like, and especially as a parent of adults now, my children are not till they're adults. I often think like some of the hardest part of parenting now and the way that I really have to practice my faith is not doing anything. Mm-hmm. It's just being an active listener and going, gee, that really sucks. I hope you work that one out. Like, I want to tell you exactly what I think you should do right now. But they're not asking me. So it's so crazy. And it's the same with our Father. I think, like he's not, I just think we can ask him for help, but if, I don't know, it's kind of hard. It's really hard. Sometimes the hardest thing is nothing at all.
Right. When you're grateful for what he's done, we got to look back and we learn that lesson and we say, see, it worked that time. It helps us in our faith to keep going, I think, and to not get the poor me's and to not fall into, you see what I'm not getting, see what I'm not doing, see what I'm not. And we think, we didn't think about that before, but we had faith, and our faith said that his promises were true. And that if I keep going, I'll get what I got. I'll get what I need. I don't need to know today. I just need to know that I am going to keep moving forward. If I'm keep getting those green lights and I'm doing the right thing each time, I'm going to get it. And that faith keeps us in our moment. It especially keeps me in mind to say, it is going to work out. I don't have to worry about it so much. Did I have to worry about it before? And if I did, make the changes, right? We should be learning all the time, make the changes that we should have made to get it right. And otherwise then be grateful for that lesson and don't make it again. Gratefulness and faith, they go hand in hand with us. And for us addicts, gratitude is such a huge part of how we live our lives today and what makes us this type of people that we are. Anybody been through tough times and trauma and things, and Lisa included, who went through 2 years of stuff that I, walked with her hand in hand in through stuff that was totally different than what the three of us went through, but every bit as traumatic, and in some ways maybe even more so in her life. And then she drove through it and is now certainly grown from it and learned lessons from it, and will take those lessons on, and their kids will learn them, and everybody else and me and everybody that gets touched by her will get the benefit of that. And I hope that's how we all are in our lives as we go on, even though we can do more push-ups than most everybody. And sorry, I had to make Alicia feel good about.
I'll catch up to you guys. As soon as I'm fully recovered.
I'm grateful for that. Listen, I'm grateful for the idea that we can go through the challenges. Alicia and I are in the challenge. We're in another challenge month. I'm doing 10 minutes of planks and 100 push-ups a day. And I'll tell you that 10 minutes of planks is a huge challenge. It's hard to it's the time. It's not really
10 minutes, 10 minutes at one time?
No, just 10 minutes.
So like three.
Yeah, if you can, it's just the time to do it. It adds a full 10 minutes onto your workout. And we were doing 100 push-ups in 4 minutes. That's only 4 minutes. Now I'm adding another 6. It just adds this whole dimension to a workout. But I remember that I got through that the last time. So when it's hard, things that were hard, I know if I stick to it and make some changes and do some things, I'll be able to do this one. And the benefit will be that I'll it just helps me in discipline to know that when I set my mind on a difficult task, I can complete it. So the next difficult task, I know that I can complete. Faith, and then drawing in my higher power, God, Jesus Christ, when for that encouragement and that really wisdom and discernment, that connection. Am I doing this right? Should I go here? Should I go there? Because he doesn't really ever do it for me, but he guides me in doing it the right way. Like I take on that yoke, and then my burden is easy, right? If I'm not yoked, my burden is hard. So anyway, well, thanks guys for coming on. We're going to try this little thing. We're going to play some music in the background. Can you hear it? Oh yeah. Thank you. We're going to have this night driving music. I'm going to be the producer today, taking us out. But thanks for coming on. I'm going to see Alicea in 2 weeks in Nevada City. We'll see you back again next week on Recovery Live. Donna, who knows? I see Donna much more lately than I used to.
Yeah, I could pop up anywhere. You never know.
Pops up anyway. We only live 20 minutes apart from each other.
That's right.
Helping me on some of these events in the city that we've been doing. We've been partnering up, doing some things, and we got some great plans to bring the message of recovery that started about 80 years ago with that big blue book back to the way it was back then, and share the joy that we've had. So everybody have a great week. First week of September.
Thank you, Tommy. Thanks, Alicea.
And we will see you guys again on the 13th.
Breaking out the sweaters and the boots, getting ready.
Breaking the sweaters and the boots and the down vest.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that, but sweaters and boots.
Sweaters and boots.
All right, guys. And good to see you all.
See you, Donna. And we'll see you guys all again in a week. 10 o'clock East Pacific, 1 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock in the UK, right here. Join Alicea and I and myself here on Recovery Live. Have a great week, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.